today's episode, we're going to talk about my vintage Star Wars collection. The Force calls on you to stick around.
Hello, YouTube. Welcome to another edition of Star Wars Collectors and Displays. As always, I am Jack, and as always, we have Jim with us here. Hello, Jim. We have a very special guest with us tonight that we're going to interview about his collection. His name is AJ. I'm going to hand it over to AJ. If you will, please tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're zooming in from, and a little bit about your collection.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is AJ Vargas. I am zooming from North Hollywood, California. I lived here most of my adult life. And like these two guys, I am a lifelong Star Wars fan. I saw the original New Hope in 1977 when I was 7 years old. Needless to say, I was instantly hooked. And the funny part was, at the time, my mom worked at Mervyn's department store. So whenever the toys came out, she would always go to the toy department and she would be able to get the toys before they even hit the shelves and bring them home to me and my brother. So we kind of start our collection from there. And I've just, ever since then, I've always been just a lifelong Star Wars fan. And I have the entire collection of vintage figures from my childhood. And then a couple of years ago, I saw a set on Facebook Marketplace that was just one of those once in a lifetime, too good to be true collections. And I now have an additional second set as well. And they're amongst my most cherished prized possessions.
And so right off the bat, you had the inside groove into getting action figures.
I did, yeah.
And was it just Star Wars stuff, or was it anything?
Oh, yeah, mostly Star Wars, but also DC Comics, Marvel. I'm still a fan of those properties as well. I collect toys in that arena as well, but mostly Star Wars. It's my top.
And as far as like the early access for Mervyn's that your mom was able to hook up, was that only Star Wars, or was there other toys mixed in?
That was mostly Star Wars, yeah. Because once Star Wars came out, we were just diehard, just wanted everything Star Wars.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it was mothers like AJ that it took me so long to find an ADAPT driver. They were so hard because they would never hit the shelves. They were like the employees would take them before the
right, yeah. That's probably what happened.
So the items that you have collected, are they primarily action figures, vehicles, helmets, lightsabers, comics?
Primarily the action figures. Action figures, some of the main vehicles like X-Wing, Millennium Falcon, TIE Fighters, and I also a couple years ago, I got a old vintage Death Star space station playset, and I gave it a complete makeover, painted it, and got really cool decals. And I sent you some pictures as well, and I was really happy how that came out.
Very cool. And these are primarily the 3 3/4 inch.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I do have the Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Princess Leia 12-inch as well, but primarily the 3 3/4 figures.
Are the 12-inch figures from your childhood, or are those something you picked up?
They are. They're from my childhood, yeah. Oh. Yeah.
So, and while we're on the childhood thing, the images that I've seen so far look like what I'm going to refer to as vintage, which I hate that word. I'll just call original 77, 78. Is that where they're from?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Okay.
It's rare that we talk to somebody that still has their collection from their childhood. A lot of times people they either got lost in a move or they shot at it with BB guns, or they passed it down to other kids in the neighborhood. What was your story? How were you able to hold on to it all these years?
Yeah, I have a twin brother. So both of us were just diehard Star Wars fans. And we never played with our figures outside. We never took them outside. We never let our friends play with them because we were just so afraid. We didn't want pieces to get lost or get broken. So we just took very meticulous care of them. And they still look almost brand new.
That's a nice collection. So we'll get into more to like the specifics of the timing of your collecting and whatnot. But at some point, let me ask it this way. Have they always been out on display, or at some point did they go into storage?
No, they've actually been in Darth Vader collector case, C-3PO collector cases for years and years and years. And then my brother and I, we got a house 15 years ago, and we're finally able to put them on display. So the original set is on display. The additional set that I acquired, those are put away in cases. They're actually, that's what's behind me, or the second set.
Oh, okay. I have those here. In fact, I just bought one of these at the Simi Valley toy show.
All right, right on.
C-3PO. Of course, I came home, and you know what I had to do right away, don't you?
Let's see it.
I had to go buy the rest of the figures in there.
That's right, you got to
This
fill it
one, if I
up.
remember, I didn't come with the labels, so everybody's kind of slipping out of their stuff. But there they are in
Nice.
there.
Right.
And he gave us a real good deal too, if I remember right,
Oh,
like
cool.
$2, $3 a piece.
It was very cheap. That was a fun day.
Yeah,
So just to confirm, AJ, you have figures living in those cases behind you right now.
I do, yeah,
Oh,
I
that's
do.
awesome. That's cool.
and I'm going to assume at this point that your
I
series
even have
or
the original. You can
Right.
see
The card back, yeah,
yeah, the
right.
card back came
Oh,
with
that's
it.
great. Yep.
Yeah, and
And
I
that's
have them
all
all
your
in
OG.
little bags for protection.
Oh, that's a good way of doing it. And they also stay in there better as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that maybe have never seen the Darth Vader collector case, or they don't know exactly why the figures always fall out of it when they close it up. So having what AJ does, putting it in the plastic, that's an awesome way of like keeping them in there and
Yeah.
also protecting them as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it was funny that this I got from Facebook and I didn't know the card was in it. So when I went and picked it up, I was like, oh wow, bonus.
Amazing. And so when you were storing the figures in the cases all those years before the 15 years ago when you were able to buy the house and start displaying everything, where were the cases stored? Where was all that done?
Oh, in closets. Yeah,
Okay,
for a
so they
while.
just stayed
Actually,
with
my
you.
before my brother and I bought the house, I was living on my own. He was living on his own, and actually, he had the figures at his place.
Wow.
But always at the time, I
Congratulations.
always thought I should probably think of getting a second set just in case. So at the back of my mind, I always wanted an additional set just to have.
And you found that Facebook offer and you jumped on that.
Oh
That's
yeah,
it's
I
great.
could not pass it up. Yeah, it came with everything. It included variants, all the weapons, just excellent mint condition figures. I was completely blown away.
Mhm. Nice find. Jim, I'll go back to you. I apologize.
no problem. And the question that we would typically ask at this point would be what series, story, or movie is it that you really like? But I think it's pretty obvious that we're at least 4, 5, and 6, New
Oh yeah,
Hope,
yeah, no doubt.
Emperor Strikes Back, or Revenge, or
Yeah.
Return, all those three.
Yeah, I would say for most, like most, Empire Strikes Back is my all-time favorite. I love that movie.
And also based on the assumption that there is approximately 100 original characters, and between you and your brother, that would equal you have about 200 of
Yeah,
those original figures now,
yeah, oh yeah,
uh, plus more stuff that's maybe hidden or stacked some other place.
oh yeah. There's little things around. Oh yeah.
So do you collect any of the modern stuff? Did you?
I do get some of the Black Series figures, not a lot, but I do collect those as well.
Mhm.
I like the sculpts and the details are pretty cool, so I do have quite a bit of those.
And what about like when like the Power of the Force 2 stuff started coming out like in 1995, that era, did you get back into
I didn't
collecting?
at first because remember the first set they came out, they were kind of very bulky and kind of had like He-Man, big, muscular. I just thought that was kind of odd, so I didn't really feel compelled to buy them. But then later down the road, the sculpts changed a little bit. Then I started to collect those, but not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
And got it. Why the 6-inch? Why did you decide to get some of the 6-inch figure?
I just like the detail and the sculpts, especially in terms of the likenesses on some of the characters are really good, very impressive.
Got it. Jim, did you have one more question here?
The inspiration for your collection. Now, if you got these way back in the 70s and the 80s, you've just kind of hung on to them.
Mhm.
And so it's from memorabilia sake would be
Oh
your
yeah,
angle. Yes?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a piece of my childhood.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And I was going to add, why Star Wars, AJ? You know, you talked about like DC, you have some DC posters behind you there. Why didn't you go all in on DC? Why is it all in on Star Wars?
I guess it's just when Star Wars came out in 1977, like everybody else, it just kind of rocked our world. We had never seen anything like that before. I mean, I had watched Super Friends, I had the little Mego dolls, but then when Star Wars came along, it's just we had not seen anything like that before, and I was just instantly just infatuated with the franchise.
We have a lot of viewers that I would say are under 30. And obviously they didn't have the opportunity to watch
Right,
Star Wars,
exactly.
Empire
They
Strikes
missed
Back,
out.
Return of the
Oh
Jedi.
yeah, yeah.
What was your experience? What do you remember from seeing Star Wars
Well,
that first night?
I actually I saw it. My grandparents took me and my brother, and we saw it in the drive-in. I don't remember what the double feature was though. So we saw it in the drive-in, and it just blew us away. And then eventually we dragged our parents to come see it again with us. And we saw it. I forget which theater it was, but we saw it at a theater in San Francisco. And we were standing outside waiting to get in, and the previous showing was still finishing, and you could hear the sound effects. And we're just like, oh, I want to get in there and watch this movie.
Right, right. And what do you remember most from that first or second viewing of seeing Star Wars? What's kind of that thing that's implanted in your head?
Just the whole world building and the sci-fi angle, and obviously I love Darth Vader. I thought he was just the baddest villain ever. Just all of that just was just for me, it's just very huge impression on me.
If you don't mind, Jim, since I was asking AJ, I want to share my experience.
Oh, I'd
I
like to
had
hear
an
it.
opportunity to see Star Wars for the first time in a movie theater when I was 4 years old.
Wow.
So it had come out in May of 1977. My birthday was in July of 1977. So I was 3 when it came out, but I didn't actually see it until August of 77. And I remember going into the movie theater and watching it and really falling in love with R2-D2 right off the bat. I was just like, that's wow, wow. And when the Jawas shock R2-D2, and in my opinion, killed R2-D2
Yeah. Oh
because I saw
no.
him keel over,
Yeah.
I shut out. That's all I remember up to that point,
Oh
seeing it the
no.
first time. Yeah. I believe I fell asleep and my mom woke me up for the trench run. And so I have bits and pieces of the trench run, but
That's cool.
after R2-D2 got shot and killed, I cut out.
That's funny because Darth Vader is my favorite, and then R2-D2 is my second
That's your
favorite.
second, yeah.
Yeah.
I know I'm not original to say that R2-D2 was the one that first pulled me in. That happened with a lot of people
Yeah, that's
our
cool.
age back then.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I mentioned this in our last interview the other week, and about our friend that we interviewed maybe a year ago from Louisiana or Arkansas, was he? Can't remember his name, but his dad took him to the movie theater, the drive-in movie theater, to go see Star Wars. And first of all, they got there late
Oh no.
because they're driving through. They can't find a spot to pull in,
Oh.
and Dad leaves.
We're going to the drive-in, and I'm looking up at this big screen, and my father was the kind of guy, he never got to a movie on time. It was always in the middle of the movie. I'm like, but that's just how he was. So he's driving the car. I'm looking out the window like this, and I look up and I see this giant car floating in the air. And I'm like, oh, I'm just speechless. Okay. He couldn't find a speaker that would work, and we left the drive-in right then and there. And I was devastated. I was devastated.
Oh no. Oh no.
It's playing on the screen.
Yeah.
They can see it. Dad, we'll just watch it without sound.
Yeah.
It's okay.
You're right, just park
want
there.
to see it. No, no, no.
And at that age, you're all talking, you're young and everything.
Yeah.
So impressionable. And here, oh look, Dad,
Yeah.
they're looking out the
Go back.
windows. Oh no, Daddy. What I've seen of the collection so far, everything seems to be loose.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts in regards to loose versus graded?
I mean, I would love to have graded, but yeah, most of my collection or all of my collection are loose figures.
And if they're the original ones, they're quality-wise, I'm sure you've taken care of them, but maybe not worthy of paying for grading.
I've thought about it. I just thought maybe the carded ones are in terms of looking into grading, I always thought that might be worth more looking into as opposed to the loose.
Mm-hmm. You're right. A lot of people, I think they do, when they think of grading, they think of MOC, mint on card types of things to get graded. I personally enjoy graded figures, but I always am a loose graded figure. One problem that I have with the MOC graded is sometimes you can't always see the accessories.
Right.
And
Yeah.
when you have the figure loose, you're able to see the accessory very clearly. And also the back of the figure. You can kind of see it like three-dimensionally, where again on the MOC, you're only really seeing the front side of it. If you have both, two sets of figures, at some point, especially some of the ones that you would say, look grade worthy, you
Mhm.
might think about sending them into AFA and getting some
Yeah,
grades
I've
on
thought
them.
about it, and plus, yeah, because I think with the process, I guess you have to mail them in, right, to the place, and then they mail it. I always get worried, like, oh, what happens if I mail them and they never they never get sent back?
I would say don't worry about that side
All
of it.
right.
I mean, it's a
Yeah.
legitimate business and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, you can send the figures, obviously. You can get some of those like plastic cases and
Hmm.
kind of, you know, wrap them in like the plastic you have there.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
what I'll use is just like tissue paper
Ah,
and wrap them around quite a few times in tissue papers to protect them, put them in the
mhm.
plastic in a box, maybe some bubble tape around that.
Yeah.
And I've always got the figures back. In fact, I got an email just today, this morning, from AFA saying that 6 figures that I had sent in December have been graded and are being sent back to me
Oh wow, since December. Oh
since
boy,
December.
I was just about to ask how long does it take? That's wild.
That one did take a little bit of time, 4, almost 5 months now, but
Mhm.
I'm happy to have them back. And I will say that it almost feels like Christmas
Yeah.
when you get them back
I'll
and you don't
bet.
know the grade in there and you're
Yeah.
opening that
Yeah.
box for the first time. Very
Okay,
exciting stuff.
now you're tempting me.
That's funny. That's funny.
And then
Um,
what about how long have you actually been collecting? I know you started when you were a child, and then when did it kind of start again? And is it going right
Yeah,
now?
so as a child, and then I was even collecting through 1986. That's when they were finishing the last run of the Return of the Jedi waves, and then it kind of subsided there. And then I would say probably when Phantom Menace came out, that kind of kick-started me again, and just in terms of going to the toy stores and seeing what's there. And what I did like about, I don't know if you guys did the Midnight Madness for Phantom Menace. I like that because it was the first time I was able to not beg my parents to buy me a Star Wars figure. It felt very empowering. Hey, let's go to Toys R Us and let's get these figures.
It was your own wallet at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
and where you display these items, is it a single room? From what I can see, it looked like it was in a cabinet of sorts.
Yeah. We have a 3 bedroom house, and our 3rd bedroom is actually our media room. So we have a TV in there, and then that's where we display a lot of our figures.
And as far as how you go about displaying them, simply place there? Are they still in the box, out of the box with the box behind them? Are they shelved in a row, pinned to the wall, stuck on
Yeah,
the screen?
they're loose with the little foot pegs so they don't fall over. And then as you'll see in the pictures, one shelf is New Hope, one shelf is Empire Strikes Back, and the bottom shelf is Return of the Jedi. And they're
Okay,
all just kind of huddled, collected in there.
I
was
saw
going.
a blue snaggletooth in and amongst the
Yes.
group there.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about him. Was that something
Yeah,
bought for the collection,
well,
or?
we have 2 of them. So one is that came with remember that Cantina set that came with the Snaggletooth? Once again, my mom got that at Mervin's. So we've had it since then. And then when I bought that second set, he had the blue Snaggletooth, he had a brown-haired Luke Skywalker, he had all these variants. It was just amazing. So we got 2 vintage blue Snaggletooth figures.
I'm curious about the variants. What other variants do you remember?
Okay, so there's I have a New Hope Luke Skywalker with brown hair, Bespin Luke with brown hair. I didn't know there were 2 Lando figures, one where he has white teeth, one where he doesn't. The Ugnaught, one is I think has a blue smock, one has a purple smock. There's a whole bunch. Yeah, I was actually
Sure.
amazed that all these variants were included.
That's awesome. Yeah, the variants are very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fun, and we've had a number of people we've spoken to lately. Alfonso from Mexico that had a collection of a lot of variants, and then also our friend from Jean or John from France talked about variants as far as where they were
Oh
manufactured and
wow.
where they came from, and
Yeah.
it's just opened up my eyes
Hmm.
to the depths
Sure.
one can go in collecting. It can be the same exact figure that
Hmm.
comes from 5 different countries.
Yeah.
The unique thing is you as the collector have one from all 5 different
Right.
countries.
Yeah, that would probably be the next road for me to go down is okay, I have the complete collection now. I might want to start looking into getting some of the variants that I don't have.
Well, I'm also looking to get a little education here in the near future. I had joked on our last interview about I was about ready to go down or fall down a rabbit hole with regards to Boba Fett characters.
Yeah.
And in fact, as of this today, I'm well fallen into the hole. I've probably bought at least 4 different of them have arrived so far.
Oh, nice.
Probably
Oh, wow.
another dozen behind them. And so I'm beginning to,
Wow.
this particular craze collection, it could be the same figure.
Yeah.
It's just in a different package.
Yep.
One of the things I've noticed, and I don't think I've got them here, but there's, I think, what we're just going to call the vintage collection. And I've seen one where he is holding the pistol, and another one where the pistol is somehow attached to the side of the package. And yet everything else, the card back and everything, is still the same.
Oh, wow.
Does that count?
Yeah.
Variant or something unique?
Interesting.
The other thing that I discovered this afternoon and also ended up going down it was they had the prototype.
Oh, yeah. Right. That with the rocket, right?
The emphasis was not so much on the rocket, although I've seen, but I think that's a 6-inch one. But the interesting thing about the prototype is they would make all the different pieces in all different colors, and then they would sell. This is the red-headed version. This is the green-headed version. This is the purple-headed version. The yellow-headed version. Got a green shoulder here. Got a green arm here. I don't know. Are those really variants, or are they just musical chairs when it came to the assembly line when they put them together? So it's interesting to explore that variant category.
I think AJ, what Jim is talking about with the prototype is the retro collection.
Oh, okay.
That they came
yeah,
out
okay.
with
Yeah.
Colors.
All right. I see. Yeah. With the multicolors. Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know those.
Yeah, that's another line I actually have been collecting is the retro collectors. I think those are great.
Oh, let's hear about that. I'm curious to hear about this retro
collection. I pretty much have most of them. I still need to get the episode 2 and episode 3 box set retro collection, but I have everything else. And now they're going back and they're doing actual characters from the original trilogy, which I wish they did at the very beginning. So it's like, oh, now there's a whole nother rabbit hole I'll probably be going down.
Well, it's funny that you do say that you wish they did that at the very beginning, because in the first wave of figures that they came out with, I think it was in 2018, maybe 2019.
Yeah, it was around there. Yeah.
Was Grand Moff Tarkin.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I have that.
So they do have him.
But you had to buy a board game to get the figure. So I just went on eBay and just got the figures. I don't want the game.
I actually bought the game to get the figure, and we've tried the game. We've played it, and it's actually a pretty fun game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's if anyone wants to play the game, I recommend the game.
So your display, you already indicated, is arranged by the movies of episode 4, episode 5, episode 6. Do you, as you continue to collect, have room to expand?
No,
or is it
there's no more room.
Something new to
we're pretty much out of room. So it's kind of a pick and choose where we may have to just start swapping things in and swapping things out. So yeah, that's a space issue.
Yeah, the fellow we interviewed again just last week said if they wanted something new, they grew up that they had to sell something old.
Oh boy, yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah,
that's almost like playing Russian roulette or something. It's like, I don't know.
Well, it makes you really stop and think about what you want to get versus what you have.
Exactly. Right. Yep. That's true. And then when you talk about like retro collection and you're buying those figures, or maybe the 6-inch figures, the Black Series that you talked about, what are your sources now? Where do you go to purchase these Star Wars figures?
Oh, I usually do Amazon. My mom has an Amazon subscription, so she got me and my brother on there. It's free shipping. So if I usually go there first. If I get it there, I'll do it there. Otherwise, Walmart or Target or eBay or what have you.
And is that mainly online, or are you ever out there doing the hunt?
Oh, I'm always out doing the hunt. Oh yeah, it's just I don't know where exactly you guys are in LA, but the Targets and the Walmarts, they never have anything cool. And I always see these YouTubers finding the coolest stuff at their Targets and Walmarts. It's like, what? How come ours don't have this stuff? So that's why I usually have to go online and get it, instead of going out into the store and getting it.
They're somewhere in New Mexico or Utah where the Indian change that often. When he comes over and we go out to dinner, we always have to stop at the
right.
What store is it just down the street?
We call that one Ross.
Oh, Ross, yeah, yeah.
and have to go in there and see what they have. And
Yeah,
he'll
I'm
always come
usually
out with
I'm
something.
usually popping in there, see what they got. They do really well during the holidays. They have the really good stuff.
Right. Ross is a nice place to go. The quality is not always the best, but
Yeah.
sometimes you can find a decent card and someone hasn't like destroyed the blister.
Yeah.
Prices are good, but the
Oh, yeah.
selection is scarce.
Yeah.
And you do have to kind of hunt once you get in there. It's kind of like going through thick grass.
Yeah.
And sometimes things will fall off shelves. A lot of times people will be looking at you, but if you want to find the goods, you got to do it.
Right. You gotta dig in. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if you guys have seen there's this store not in LA called Ollie's.
Mhm.
You heard of those? That
I
store?
have heard of Ollie's. That's
I
more
was
of a
like, why can't we have an
Midwestern
Ollie's?
store.
They always
Yeah.
have the best discounted stuff there.
I have seen Ollie's. I feel that our Ross is kind of like Ollie's,
Yeah, it is.
although
Yeah,
Ollie's
that's how I
does
look
tend to
at it.
have more for
Mhm.
some reason.
Yeah.
There might be a way of going online for Ollie's, but I've
No,
never heard
I look, they
there's
they
not.
don't. Yeah,
Okay.
there's not. Otherwise, I'd be all over that.
Do you ever go to Hasbro Direct online? Is that
I have a
anything
few
you do?
times. Yeah, sometimes they'll do really good clearance deals, or if I just can't find it anywhere, I'll just get it off of the Hasbro website.
Okay. Yeah, so quite a few different places. And then it sounded like you bought that other full collection from Facebook Marketplace.
Yes, yeah.
How did that work out? Were you searching? Did it just pop
Yeah, I was
out?
just browsing, always browsing on there for I was really focusing on the last 17 as part of the second set. I actually had collected a lot of a second set, but they were kind of beater figures. Some of them weren't in the greatest condition. And then I was just on Facebook Marketplace, and this dude was selling the entire collection. He had pictures. I sent you guys the pictures of every figure, and I was like, I'm not gonna say how it was expensive, but it's like this, I was like, a collection like this only comes along once in a lifetime. And he lived on the west side in Santa Monica. So I contacted him. I said I was very interested. I would be willing to pay what he wanted. So I drove down there and we met at a Starbucks, and he had them all in these boxes. I was just so excited, and I paid him through PayPal credit, and for some reason it wasn't going through. He wasn't receiving it, and I thought it was a problem on my end. I thought, okay, because I was doing it on let me go home and try to do it from my computer and see if it works then. Luckily, he was very patient. He let me go home, and it still didn't work. And then he found out it was a setting that he had on his phone that wasn't allowing the payment to go through. So then I drove back down there, and we were able to do the handoff. I was
my
just worried that
goodness.
he was gonna be like, "Oh, forget you. I'm gonna give it to somebody else."
Right.
And the
Yeah.
valley through the Sepulveda Pass back down
Yeah,
into
yeah.
Monica and
It was a
backwards. That's
commute,
a bit of a schlep.
but I wanted those figures. It's like I want those figures.
Jim suddenly turned this into a Saturday Night Live skit talking about the 405 to the 10.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned earlier twin brother. Do you share the same interest? And let's be
Oh yeah,
specific.
and we both diehard Star Wars fans. The reason why I bought the second set, because it's like we kind of shared the first set. I was like, I always wanted in the back of my mind, I want to at least have a second set just in case. So yeah, but we're both I actually invited him to be a part of this, but he couldn't make it. So
that would have been fun to have twins
yeah,
there.
would have been a huge surprise for you guys.
We've had a father-daughter, but never brother-brother before.
Yeah.
So that would be fun. Maybe we'll have you back, or we'll do an interview with you, and you'll come into the interview.
Yeah.
So you both have the same interest in Star Wars. Where are the variations between you and your brother as far as collecting?
We pretty much collect the same. He's also a huge Marvel fan and DC fan, so we definitely have the same interest in terms of pop culture, Star Wars, Marvel, DC. Yeah.
And I was going to add, I see the DC again posters behind you. You mentioned DC earlier. This is the first time hearing you say Marvel. I was going to ask you, is it more of a DC family versus a Marvel family? Are you
I'm definitely DC, but the funny story is I worked at Marvel Studios for 5 years, so I always felt like I have a Batman tattoo on my arm, and I always felt like I had to hide it. I didn't want anybody to see it. But yeah, I've always been I like Marvel, but always diehard DC, because I think my first exposure to DC character was the Super Friends animated series, and then the Mego figure. So that kind of started my interest back then.
And what about this new Superman movie coming out?
Oh, I can't wait! Yeah, I'm very excited.
Cool.
Well, speaking of new movies, how about that new Andor coming up next?
Yeah, can't wait. Yeah, and what's great is, I don't know if you guys know, it's 12 episodes, and they're going to do 3 episodes each week. So it's to be like watching an Andor movie for 4 weeks. Yeah. So
it's like,
very
oh,
excited.
Man, it's overload, and then it's gone. I just thought to myself, my thing will record them, and then or actually it's Disney Plus, so I can go see them anytime. But I
Yeah.
may take a casual. No, I won't take a casual
No.
pay. I'll have to watch all
Yep,
three.
for
The
sure.
first, the second, the
Oh
third,
yeah,
the fourth
that's
times that
appointment
they're
television for us.
there. When it comes to collecting, would you consider yourself obsessive, compulsive, budgeted, under control, out of control?
I'd say somewhere in the middle.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have to make sure I don't get out of control. Yeah, it's hard.
It
How do
is.
you do
It
that?
is.
I just have to just pick your battles. Like, do I really need this? Do I want this? Can I pass on this? So yeah, it's just it's difficult.
Yeah, I bet, like I said, been buying this Boba Fett stuff here this last week, and what my MO is I take and find stuff I like, put them into the shopping cart. That way, they're kind of saved in a
Yeah.
sense, and then I can continue on with my hunt, looking for what I want. When I'm all done, I then go back and review what I
That's
put
smart.
there, and look at, okay, maybe I found two of the same thing, but he's $10 more, or this one's
Yeah.
$5 more on shipping or something. And then you got to kind of decide ultimately when you figure in the tax, which is the better deal. But I can kind of whittle it down. But in my mind, I've already given myself
Yeah,
permission to
exactly.
buy.
Yep.
I'm just trying to get the best value out of
Mhm.
what I think I'm going to spend, but
Yeah.
I already know I'm going to buy it. There was a guy earlier this week that I don't remember how it started, and it was a neat Star Wars, and I think it was a Boba Fett. And I don't remember the particular dollars. It wasn't that much. Maybe he wanted 30. He said make offer, so I said 22, and he came back with 26, and it still gave me the option to counter offer, so I went 25. And he must have just got tired of playing. And then I had to wait a day and a half for
Oh
the thing to
no.
cancel itself for
Uh,
fear that if I went and bought it from somebody else. And so I wrote him at the very end and I said, thanks a lot for not, connecting or saying you declined it. And he was just a real dick.
oh no.
He something about me lowballing him and being entitled, and I thought, oh my god, entitled, because you put in there make offer, I'm now entitled. Sorry, I didn't offer you what you wanted, dickhead.
Welcome to a day in the life of Jim.
Yeah, right. Sounds familiar.
Well, if you're going to put make offer, then
Exactly right. That's the whole
you know,
point. Yeah, yeah,
and I never lowball people.
yeah.
It's a respectable number,
Sure.
maybe a little bit lower than what they want, but it's still a respectable number. Quite often, I'll even write them in advance and say, I don't want to insult you. I see you take an offer, but tell me, what is your best price?
Yeah.
Anyhow, it's weird how all that stuff works.
And Jim, going back to
anyhow,
the Boba Fett's that you mentioned, I'm curious. I don't know if you remember, but on my personal YouTube channel, which is called Jack in the Box, JAK in
I'll
the
look it up.
Box,
Oh,
one of the things that I do is I look at action figures from the different eras. So like I had Count Dooku's from the 2002 Count Dooku, the 2006 Count Dooku, and then like the 2020 Count Dooku. Jim, those Boba Fett's you got, what different series are them? What years do you have up there?
good questions.
That looks like something 1996, 1997.
yeah,
It's
the green packaging.
It would be more obvious down here. This is a 2000.
2000.
Oh, I
Interesting.
have that. I have the Luke and Leia version of that.
Is that the one that comes with the coin?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No.
I don't.
But
Yeah, that version, I have Luke and Leia, and then Obi-Wan and Darth Vader battle in that same packaging.
Okay. 2000.
What I
Interesting.
thought was appealing was this one does have a cloth cape in there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And it could be, and probably is the same figure, just different packaging, but that's the collection.
Exactly. Yeah.
My excuse
for one more
money that's going to make me happy for a few days. Until I end up going back into something else. I did buy that Halloween thing today, and it wasn't from the expensive guy. It was from another guy that I wrote him, and I said, I don't see the knife in there. Is it there? And he sent back a picture. There was the knife, and it's held in with a piece of plastic on the side. And so I started going back, looking at the other people who offered it, and I could see there was a piece of plastic there. Couldn't see the knife, but
Mm.
had to assume the blade was in there.
Mm.
And so I thanked the guy that was the most expensive, but I bought from the middle range.
Mhm. And just to clarify for everybody, when you say Halloween, you're talking about Michael Myers from Halloween.
Michael Myers,
Ah, okay.
the first Halloween that came out, and that carded figure. And I just remember seeing that back in 77, 78, somewhere in that range. And driving home that night, looking in the rearview mirror, thinking something was going to pop up from behind the seat. And it was a pretty scary movie.
Yeah,
but
that's actually one of my favorite horror movies.
I haven't seen it since, and I don't think I could.
Oh, no.
Enough. I just get very.
Yeah, just stick with that one. Don't watch any of the sequels.
I just get very anxious watching. There's a new Dracula, the crash or the last trip of the what's the name of the ship, the Juniper or something.
Oh,
like
the Demeter, the voyage,
and
last
I
voyage.
started watching it, but it just. No, I just feeling too wound up here. I can't do this. It was just a weird feeling, so I don't get carried away with horror shows anymore. Aside from you and your brother, who sees your collection?
Family or friends that come over, they'll obviously walk in here and see what we got. Yeah.
And what do they say when they see it?
Some people think it's cool. Some people think we're nuts because not only Star Wars, we've got other figures on display in cabinets. So it's almost like walking into a little toy room.
And do you have kind of like your showcase item or that one piece that you kind of want to show people when they see the
Oh,
full
yeah.
collection?
Yeah. Got that. And then I also collected some of the vintage Indiana Jones Kenner figures. So I found a really sweet deal on the Ark of the Covenant play set. It's almost in mint condition. I got it at a very cheap price. So I got that on display and I got a mint Indy figure in there. Yeah.
And that's from like the 1981 or 82 series?
Yeah, the 81. Yeah, the first movie. Yeah.
Very cool. And so is that kind of like the one item that you kind of, if somebody's going to see the full collection, you make sure they see that item, or what is that?
It depends. Yeah, I mean, in terms of Indiana Jones, but with Star Wars, we just have it organized by movie, and then with the main characters in the first row, and then lesser as the rows go on.
And when people are seeing it for the first time, do you explain that to them? I mean, what's the conversation?
Oh yeah, it's more like these are the figures from my childhood. Look how we took care of them.
That's awesome. And how about your favorite item? Do you have a personal favorite item?
I would say probably anything like Jim with his Boba Fett figures, anything Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. I'll just keep going. You said Empire Strikes Back earlier, your favorite out of, I guess, the original three.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite television series that have come out?
Oh, Mandalorian, but definitely Mandalorian, especially the second season when Luke showed up in R2-D2. That was awesome. That was so great. That episode, I actually watched it at midnight. Me and my brother waited till midnight to watch it. We didn't know that Luke was going to show up, and boy, was that just the biggest surprise ever. It was great.
Mandalorian, absolutely. They're doing Star Wars Celebration this weekend.
Yesterday they dropped some pretty good scoops.
I was going to say, Jim, did you see any of these scoops that they kind of revealed yesterday? Jim?
Me?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
I've seen a couple little things on Facebook. I have to kind of be honest, I had them as one of my Facebook groups, and whenever I would post our videos, they would go into that group. Well, this last time didn't accept it.
Why?
And so I didn't, maybe they were just getting ramped up for the show or something.
Yeah.
So kind of as a unconscious thing, when I saw it, I was like, ding.
So one of the things that they revealed in Japan yesterday or last night is a trailer, or at least a teaser, for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie.
Did you see the clip?
I saw the clip.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It's inside of an AT-AT. I think the first time we've actually seen the interior of an AT-AT. It was incredibly cool and a little reminiscent of that episode, the last episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian, when Luke Skywalker made his hallway.
They're kind of doing the same thing. Yeah.
That's a kind of a new thing that they're doing, it seems, is each character kind of gets their hallway shot.
Yeah,
Darth
right.
Vader obviously had
Yeah.
his in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian, and now it looks like The Mandalorian has his instead of a hallway. It's the corridor of an AT-AT. It's quite incredible.
I think I did see a thing on Facebook about that, but I didn't click on it. It didn't sink in deep enough, but now I'm going to end up going to look for it.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, and they also Sean Levy. They announced the Sean Levy Star Wars movie coming
Yes.
out in 2027 with
Yeah,
Ryan Gosling.
I did see that, and the thought that went through my mind is, who is Sean?
He's a
He
director.
directed Wolverine, Deadpool, and Wolverine, and he did a lot of good movies.
He did
I
that.
mean, no disrespect, I just didn't recognize the name, and I thought,
Oh,
who's Sean? I recognized.
I think it's in good hands with him.
Fellow, but I didn't recognize Sean, and so it didn't draw me into it. And you know, these days there's so much stuff trying to grab your attention here and there, and some of it's scammy and spammy, and be careful what you click on.
Sure.
Have you guys ever been to a Star Wars celebration?
I haven't. I've been to a few things that celebrated Star Wars, like a John Williams at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, I do that all the time.
Sure.
That's a great show. Yeah,
Sure.
I love that.
But Jim and I will go to some toy shows, and that type of thing. And some of the times there is an emphasis to Star Wars, and people are obviously dressed up. And sometimes you're there and you can like meet some of the different actors that are there. But it's not one of the big ones. I personally don't want to geek out quite that hard, so I just kind of watch it from afar. But one of the things I also do on Jack in the Box, I'm sorry to keep advertising this, Jim, but it is part of the conversation here, is I befriend some of the background actors from the original Star Wars movie.
Oh, wow.
They're all British men in their late 60s and early 70s now, but they were extras in the Star Wars film, and I do interviews with them.
Oh, that's cool. On your YouTube?
What's on my YouTube channel.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
On that. And they kind of tell the story of 1976 being in London and shooting Star Wars. Some of them were on the set for 6 days. Some of them were on the set for 6 months.
Wow.
And so it's really incredible to kind of hear those different stories. And so to me, that's the Star Wars celebration.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, the only Star Wars celebration I did was for the 30th anniversary in 2007. It was at the LA Convention Center.
Very cool. And what was
your experience was pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, overwhelming. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, being that the two of you are both basically from the San Fernando Valley, what do you share in common as far as a store that you might go to buy something from? Or as Jack pointed out, the Hollywood Bowl, I think the two of you were there. There's also that George Lucas place they're building.
Yeah, the museum.
By the Coliseum or something like that.
Yeah.
What's hot in LA?
For me, a lot of my collection, especially the 100 that I have behind me here, a lot of those are my also personal collection that I had when I was a kid. My story is very similar to AJ's, where they never went out of the house. They never got played with by other kids.
Right on.
It was always me basically in my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I would set them up and have maybe like a 2 or 3 day battle between the masses. And then everything would be stored back into one of the collector cases and waited for the next battle days.
Yeah, that's what what me and my brother would do. We'd get our figures, we open them up, and then we would put on the John Williams music, and we would play our own Star Wars adventures beyond the movies.
Absolutely. I do remember one time the Stack Boys came over to the house and we were going to play with my Star Wars figures together. And I had a bit of an inkling in my head, like a spidey sense that said, just
don't do that.
Might go wrong.
Yeah.
Again, I'm like, 8 years old at this point, but still, I don't know. And I remember Brian Stack specifically smashing 2 figures together.
Oh, no.
No. You guys need to leave.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put everything back away here because you could not do that in my house.
Hell no. Yeah.
I was an only child as well.
Ah, gotcha.
So I think you mentioned that Darth Vader is your favorite character.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Why Vader?
Just when he walked into that room in the episode 4, just the visual and just the design, just I'd never seen anything like that before, and I just thought he was just so cool.
Right. It just
I was actually glad that he survived. I was like, I don't want him to die. He's so cool.
Sure. What about when the reveal happened?
Yeah,
spoiler alert if you don't know. But when the reveal happened in Empire Strikes Back,
Hmm.
no, I am your father. What was
Yeah.
your thought when you heard
Well,
that?
that got spoiled for me because my mom bought me the little comic adaptation before I saw the movie. So I was flipping through the pages. What? So I found out through the comic. So I didn't get to experience watching the movie and finding out. I was still
Interesting.
blown away. I couldn't believe it. I thought, oh, I wonder if this is going to be in the movie. This is crazy.
I
Were you
remember seeing it with a friend opening night, Empire Strikes Back. By that point, I was a late 6.
Uh,
And I do remember that whole night and that experience quite well. Also, my favorite movie out of the series, Empire Strikes Back, not just because it is a great film from beginning to end, but also the experience I had watching
oh yeah,
it
for sure.
on
Yeah,
opening
yeah,
night. And it wasn't
yeah.
spoiled to me when that
Oh,
happened.
good.
And I remember debating with my friend. We thought, I was like, he must be lying to Luke
Right.
because
Yeah,
there's no
yeah,
way that that can be
yeah.
true. I mean, how,
Uh-huh.
what? He's like a machine. I didn't, I
Yeah.
couldn't process that. So I just thought it was a big lie. And really, kind of when Return of the Jedi came out and it was revealed that Vader is your father, I was just like, I almost gasped more then. It's like, oh, it is true. It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I do remember the audience in Empire gasping when he said the line. I do remember that.
like
People
like
were
a
just like
real
shocked.
gasp.
Yeah,
Exactly. A
yeah.
real gasp. Actually, absolutely. One of the questions that we've kind of added to our list of questions here is where do you see your collection in the future? What's going to be the next 15, 20 years of the collection? Where's it going?
Yeah, I guess it just depends on what kind of product comes out because I mostly focus on the original trilogy. I don't really collect much of the prequels or the sequel trilogy. It's mostly the original. So it really depends on like what happens if McFarlane Toys were to get the license to do Star Wars. Oh my gosh, I don't know if you guys have seen their DC multiverse stuff, but I always thought, man, if McFarlane Toys were to get it, I wouldn't be able to help myself. I would have to get them. So it just really depends on what's beyond Hasbro. Are there any other licensees that might pick up the license to do to other toys?
I'd like to
Interesting.
push that same question, but only in a more specific direction, which was my intent of adding this question, and that is, I'm 66 years old.
Yeah.
I'm at a point where this crazy state kind of chases a lot of us out of the state.
Yeah.
So who knows where I will be in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Mhm.
It brings to mind the question or the word, which I hate,
Yeah.
downsizing.
Oh yeah. Believe me,
It's
I always think
frightening.
about that too. Like when you get to the end, what do you do with the figures? Like
Right. And that's really
you want to make
the
sure you're going to
question.
hand them off to somebody where they're going to be in good hands as to and they end up in the wrong hands. But I always worry about that too. It's like I got to have at least some sort of game plan down the road. Like, well, who am I going to give these figures to? Be it a collector or even if somebody who owns a museum, just I want them to go somewhere where they're going to be taken care of.
I actually have Jack in my will.
Oh,
Not
wow.
as the recipient of my Star Wars collection.
Yeah.
And in a
Advisor.
weird way, an employee. He's been given a pretty lofty percentage of whatever he can sell it for. And to me, the idea is if I have someone who knows what this stuff is,
Yeah.
what its value is, he's going to kind of try to work within that framework. Whereas my two sisters show up, and little sister's already said,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're going to have a hell of a time with your estate sale."
Oh
It's
no.
the goal of an estate sale is to get rid of stuff,
Yeah.
regardless. You're
Right.
you're 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 getting rid of stuff. You're not trying to make money. And
Mhm.
even though I don't consider myself to having lots of valuable stuff, but collectively it's worth a lot. And I would just hate to see it go for pennies on the
Yeah.
dollar.
Yeah.
Um,
Plus, you don't want to end up where somebody's going to give it to their kids and they're going to just trash them.
and a lot of people I've heard they've said, "Oh, we're going to leave them for the kids."
No.
Maybe the kids know of their value or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you turn around and um, my family's had a couple of recent losses here, and so I have a very right now perspective
Mhm.
on what
Sure.
happens
Yeah.
after these people depart, and
Hmm.
how you kind of try to address some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And you may find that, oh, sure, the kids grew up with dad's stuff and knew how valuable it is financially as well as to those people. But they're caught up in a lot of other things, and trying to get more money for that stuff that's taking up space that we need.
Yeah.
There's this guy who's going to come in and give you 25 cents on the dollar or something. So that's really what, in my mind, what the question was intended to have.
Yeah. No, it sounds like you have a good contingency plan.
Well, as long as he comes through. And I get nothing out of it. There's obviously, I'm not going to be able to use any of the money. And so whatever he sells it for, that's what he gets. But it's done by somebody, in this case, who's aware and familiar of.
Yeah, no, that's a great plan.
And he also would have an outlet through a Star Wars group,
right?
As opposed to the yard sale or driveway sale.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it might be fun to do a garage sale type thing, so that way the collection stays close to home.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, keep it in LA.
They're not going to tell you how to go about doing it. So, well, we can discuss that someday. But for now, it's your problem.
Unfortunately, we can't take them. We can't take them with us.
That's right.
Well, you could. I don't know if cremation is a type of thing, and then you guys just put the figures in with the pile.
Right alongside.
Yeah, kind of ashes to ashes type of thing. If you do a burial, you could, I guess, put the figures into the
we could do like a Darth Vader funeral with the torch.
The torch, that side. So I think the figures could stay with you. Jim, that's what we're going to get a coffin big enough, not just for you, but also for all the figures and accessories. And vehicles.
Big coffin.
It's going to be like one of those shipping crates that come from China. And
so as we kind of wrap things up, AJ, what advice would you offer to new collectors or long-term collectors?
I would say do your research. If you're starting a collection from scratch, definitely do your research as to what things are worth, what they're not worth. I don't know if you guys have heard, there's a YouTube channel called the Padawan Collector. Have you heard of this guy?
Really?
And he documented his journey collecting the vintage figures from scratch, and over the course of a year. And it's pretty amazing. And him doing the research and comparing the prices, and I really commended him for his process.
When I was beginning to think of doing this series, I went on to the internet and looked up Star Wars collections and such. And I saw these over-the-top collections, the guy with the movie theater or buying the studio props. And that was just so beyond what I could potentially gather. And then as I began to gather my own stuff, I got a feel for what I thought would be the normal guy. And so in my mind, what I was looking for, I didn't necessarily see out there on YouTube, hence this particular series, Star Wars Collectors and Displays. And the emphasis is on regular people who might have a little eccentricities in what they gather or carry around with them, and as well as how they go about displaying them. And that was the whole motivation for this series, was regular Joe and how it's shown.
Cool. How long have you been doing this series?
3 years now.
Oh, wow.
I think about 3 years. This you'll be episode 37.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just happened to stumble. One of your recent episodes was in my feed, and it's like, oh, this is right up my alley. I got to reach out to these guys.
Interesting, because we were having, me and Jack, a little conversation before we started recording tonight about the analytics that you get from YouTube, and trying to figure out some of that stuff and try to discuss things that might attract more visitors or things like that. Which, whether there is an answer or not, I don't know. If you look at our YouTube page, there's 36 episodes. Episode 1 has like 6,000 views.
Wow.
I'd like to compliment myself, and the rest of them are 300, 400, 500, 600. I think, no, there's got to be some reason that first one got the big numbers and the rest of them don't get the attention. We just haven't figured out what it is yet.
Yeah.
Well, one way I know to get more views is people that are watching this video, they need to like this video.
That's
So if
right.
you've
Hit
made
the
it
like.
this far
Yeah.
in
Hit the like
the
button.
episode, click that like button, and that will expand it out to other people, and more people get to meet Jim and AJ and myself and see these other Star Wars collections. So go ahead and do that. I just wanted to remind everyone out there. Jim, let's do a little like shirt reveal here. What shirt are you wearing tonight? Which one do you have on? It looks like a Boba Fett shirt. Very appropriate after buying those Boba Fett figures. And now I understand the glasses, the color of the glasses. That's almost like the Boba Fett armor right
Supposed to
there.
go with the green in there.
Right.
Just couldn't see it in there.
You've got your own little Mandalorian armor around your eyes. That's cool.
And since we're on the subject of t-shirts and what they say, let's look at yours and try to figure out what does it say. And don't give away the answer here. What we'd like you to do is, if you understand what it says on his shirt, write that in the comments below.
So it says, may the M times A be with you. And we'll let everyone comment and see if anybody can come up with the M times A, what that means.
Cool. I'll be looking at the comments.
Absolutely. And I'll remind everyone out there, if you have any comments or questions for AJ, go ahead and leave a comment. He's going to be looking. He'll answer your questions or respond to some of your comments, and we can have the conversation continue beyond just the video.
Absolutely. Yep.
For sure.
I could talk about Star Wars all day.
That's great. Well, AJ, thank you again so much for coming in and sharing your collection with us. Really great information. Loved hearing all the different stories about the hows and the whys of your collection. So really, really cool. I always like to end these interviews by saying, may the force be with you.
May the force be with you. Nice meeting you guys.
Thank you very much.
All right. Take care.